A very good morning to you tuned into Smart 24, and you're welcome to Smart Means Business. My name is Rona Nahabwe, and happy International Women's Day. Of course, the 8th of March is designated or set aside to celebrate women who have made contributions in society in regards to the political arena, economics, culture, and other areas that are of use to the economy. Of course, as we all know, this day also highlights the continuous struggle of gender equality. So happy International Women's Day to every woman out there, and I hope you do something today to celebrate yourself. So to begin with, let's look at the first update that is talking about alternative measures of budgeting. So these opposition members of parliament came up with some solutions or resolutions on how they can increase the budget and also increase the income in the economy. We're talking about reducing or removing the ban on Facebook to increase tourism, and then also talking about other alternative budgeting solutions. Let's have a look.
Our dream as the opposition, we want to see that our country, Uganda, respects the protocols. And we also want other countries to do the same, so that we don't have issues whereby some of us, we are very lenient to some people and then they are not lenient to us. Ugandans, we are naturally nice people and we are very welcoming. But again, some countries we found out that at the moment, some of them are not behaving well. They are very harsh to our people when they go there. For example, South Sudan, so many people have been killed there, traders, and other countries. I will not mention all the countries, but that's what I can say. We need to respect the protocols, free goods of services and people, and also labor. And then, of course, we also want the judicial, the Court of East African Court to be strengthened so that it can even handle, so that in its jurisdiction, it can handle human rights abuses, because it's kind of limited. These are the guys funding it. So when they say we are not funding you, when they have issues, let's say like Uganda has so many human rights issues, they will be reluctant to fund it because Uganda will be taken to that court. So we need to think outside the box, that this should promote peace amongst East Africans. Of course, definitely we also plan to put an e-resource, electronic resource for connectivity. After connecting physically, like we've told, the physical infrastructure, you can board a train to Kinshasa. You'll spend less time. Or you drive to Mombasa or to Bujumbura without any much restriction. These super highways will do a lot. And then cultural exchange. We want the cultural exchange so that we make destination East Africa one of the best in the world. We can do it. We have all it takes that is very unique, that gives us a niche in the tourism sector in the whole world. Kenya, Tanzania are way ahead of us. Rwanda is fighting. You see, can you imagine Rwanda gets more money from the gorillas than Uganda? And the gorillas are mainly in Uganda. Their habitats in Uganda, we have the best environment for them. But in Rwanda, they just go there to visit. And in Rwanda, what they do, they put attractive stuff. So they go there. For them, they know. A permit to visit gorillas in Rwanda is $1,500. Here we are charging $650. So we are losing a lot of revenue when we actually have more gorillas this side. Their home is in Uganda. In the whole world, in Rwanda, they just go there. And so many other things, intercultural exchanges will help us to have a niche also on the tourism market of the world. But how do you ban social media? in Uganda, they ban in our government. Definitely would have lifted the ban on use of social media because it helps doing business. These people only use it to suppress the opposition so that they do not expose them. Because social media, when you beat someone, somebody will film that and they sends. So that's what they fear. But actually, I can want to sell this phone. I just take a picture, I give the specifications, and stay here. I get like 10 people. If the market is only Kampala wanting. But if it is across the whole of Africa, my friend, you'll have like 100 orders. And that will expand business. You'll earn more money very fast. So when we use the e-resource or the electronic resource, we would be better off in sensitizing. But now we have to use the analog style of face-to-face, whereby, of course, you can also use that, like summits. You cannot conduct a summit on, I know Zoom, but it may not be that effective. Of the different stakeholders, we come and brainstorm for our region, depending on where you have advantage, comparative advantage, so that we can improve and increase our economies of scale. We can enjoy the benefits of bulking to enjoy economies of scale.
Of course, that was it from the alternative budget resolutions on how we can increase the budget. Of course, in the spirit of Women's Day, we are looking at a gender-responsive approach to innovation and technology and digital education that can increase awareness of women and girls about their rights and civic engagement. On 8th, of course, Uganda and the rest of the world is going to celebrate Women's Day, as we know, with pomp and ceremony. So we do know that in celebration of Women's Day, we are hoping, of course, with this year's theme, that women in digital space can have or equip themselves with a lot of knowledge and be able to compete favorably with the other gender. And still in the same spirit, we celebrate, of course, socially, economically, and political achievements of women. The UN has also recognized and celebrated women and girls who are championing the advancement of transformative technology and digital education. Away from that, we also know that KCC has set aside a budget of 63 billion shillings to build a traffic jam tower. This, of course, is meant to help in maintaining traffic in the city, reducing jam, and helping movement in the city. In regards to other press reviews, we do know that course, you're still watching Smart Means Business, and we are looking now at our second update. Let's look at GMO's prohibition. Of course, legislators have stormed in Parliament against the usage for nature conservation. Let's have a look at this.
In 2000, Uganda became a party to the Cartagena Protocol, which compels us to safeguard our biological diversity. And it compels us to keep safe the indigenous knowledge, the indigenous seed, and also the indigenous farming practices. So anything against that, I cannot stand with it. So as Uganda, we have to work towards our commitments in these international obligations. And we also want to put it clear that 97% of the genetically modified organisms are crops that generate novel toxins, or they have a process that they call biochemical accumulation. They accumulate the pesticides that are spread on them. And once these crops release these items, they are bound to pollute air, they are bound to pollute water, and also bound to pollute food. Now, as an environmentalist, I am against all kinds of pollution. And that is why I remain, I cannot tolerate the introduction and the use of genetically modified organisms in Uganda. I also need to bring it to your attention that climate change activists are being convinced to appreciate that climate change has mostly affected the agricultural sector and the related agricultural production. But from science and enormous research, it has been showed to us that GMOs are just solving a day's hunger for you to have probably food for one season. But you cannot replant GMO seed. The seeds are used for just one season. And they pollute the soils, they pollute the water. In other words, if we want sustainable climate change adaptation practices, we cannot opt for GMOs.
The primary objective of genetically modified organisms is to cause the extinction of our traditional or indigenous seeds. Extinction, that is one of its primary objectives, causing the extinction of traditional seeds, traditional crops. And if that happens, it very easily now places our people in a position of dependency. In other words, for millions and millions of years, our people have fed themselves. They have depended on their seed to continue planting every season. But the importance of GMOs is to put a stop to that sovereignty. That's a critical objective that GMOs seek to do, ensuring that we no longer are able to feed ourselves, that we are now dependent on someone else who cares little about us, that every season your mother, your relative, our farmers, every season have to go and buy from shops seeds to plant. That is the primary, that's the core of criticisms that we have against GMOs. But Africans will no longer be able to depend on themselves for feeding, for livelihood. They are now going to be put into that category of dependence.
Legislators there on the fight for indigenous seeds. We do know that GMOs, of course, very many farmers have interacted with some of them, are against them, saying that they will wipe away the indigenous seeds or the local seeds that they have been well accustomed to. Let's look at update 3, women in business. Of course, in the spirit of celebrating women, we are talking about the digital space and how they can increase their knowledge and increase their digital space to compete favorably, especially now since we know that the world is now digital, where businesses are digital, transact digital, everything is digital in other words. So we do know that women are very interested, but do they have the information or the knowledge to compete favorably in the digital space?
We are discussing issues of the digital space and the women in business. You find that we are in an era where women in business must engage in the digital space. We must be able to promote and transact our businesses through the various platforms of social media, which include Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. But the issue is that how do we sail through this digital space when most of us, women in business, lack the knowledge of operating in the digital space? And it's a good platform for us to engage in. It's a platform that will create awareness for our businesses. It is a platform that will increase the sources of our incomes. But we are challenged in the lack of knowledge, and has been said that people shall die for lack of knowledge. We are failing to progress. We are failing to reach market penetration because most of us women in business do not know how to utilize the digital space and all the tools that are related with the digital space to ensure that our businesses grow. As well, it's not only about social media, but it also includes partnering with all the institutions that progress our businesses. There are institutions like Uganda Revenue Authority, there are institutions like URSB, which is the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and all the supermarkets and other entities that we use require the knowledge of digital space, digital transactions, because you find that today URSB is telling you to fill in application forms online. Your URA is also telling you to file online. But if you do not know how to do this, most of us women in business are incurring costs, paying the agents to do it, and we are failing to go to these entities. We are not meeting the deadlines, meaning that there are extra charges of delayed activities that we all go through, and this is interfering in the progress of our businesses. So sensitization and also application of the knowledge that we get is a challenge that women in business are facing today. Intellectual property is key to thriving businesses today, but you find that we also do not have the knowledge of how can we trademark our products. And also secondly, where do we go to find these services is also something that has become a challenge to us. And in terms of what can we do about it, because we are here today to forge a way ahead. How can women grow? How can women businesses improve? How can women businesses be simplified? And one of these things is continuous sensitization. We are encouraging the respective institutions to have ongoing sensitization programs to make sure that the women in business are knowledgeable about this. We are encouraging the women to join the associations in their neighborhoods. For instance, in this neighborhood, we have various associations that are supporting the women in business. There are associations like You Will, there is USEA. Let's be members in these associations such that we can tap into those knowledge opportunities that they provide, because they are connected to all these partner institutions, and on a weekly basis, they normally bring in people to come and speak to the women in business. So let us become members so we can grow in business. Thank you.
Surely sensitization programs from the concerned stakeholders are key or paramount in enhancing women in the digital space or digitalization of women in business. For now, let's head for our traffic updates with Joram Paul Sonko, who is joining us from the clock tower. Sonko, let's have you. A very good morning to you, Sonko.
Morning, and business today. It is pretty much the 8th of March. It's a public holiday. Less busy for an area like this particular one here, guys. And of what is happening around Kampala, and of course roads that are actually linking up to Kampala, for you to at least know how the vehicles at the moment to this particular opportunity. Good morning, and I do hope that every other person who is home today, or any other woman who is part of the business community today, is worth being celebrated. Well, of course, we do celebrate a lot of women who have changed every little, a lot of things within our communities. But of course, as you can definitely see from my point of view, is that we are currently at the flyover of Kampala. Now, this is the center of it, formerly the clock tower area. So here, by this time, hopefully next year, the flyover will be very operational by the look of things. But as of now, this is one of the most busy because the community within Kampala, especially the informal sector, are the people who are opening up their offices today. Meanwhile, you will not expect anyone from, for example, the public service to be working today. You don't expect, for example, let's say, anyone working in companies, for example, commercial banks or other private entities that definitely give their workers and employees such day offs on days like this one. But of course, the city never goes to rest, does it? It never goes to rest. You get to realize borders are already on the road. Vehicles are already hitting the road. There's a lot happening right now. And of course, it is a bit busier. This particular Kampala flyover, only one of the key issues maybe for, especially now for the vehicles, as you can see, those are vehicles leaving the town, especially empty taxis. Most of them are heading to the Usafi market. That is, at the Usafi market is where most of the vehicles be heading to at least do the loading of passengers. Well, besides that, traffic is heavily deployed around this area as usual, to at least try to track down and see which drivers are driving minus their legabilities or minus licenses, third-party insurance in it, and of course who isn't maintaining the traffic flow or the stable speed that is supposed to be maintained. But meanwhile, that is actually taking the borders as well. So as you kickstart off your day, it is Women's Day. It is a day we celebrate women. You can easily see that it's most of the traffic for now. Most to, put yourself into a situation of highly getting into the more. It's not busy, not so that busy, but this is one of the most busiest. The intervals here on the taxis, and not as the usual traffic flow where you will be expecting lots of vehicles hitting, traffic officers trying to control the movement in different intervals in one way or the other, but it's as you can definitely be able to see what is happening in real time of what is coming in here from the former clock tower, or where you can see the center or the pivot of what you could call pretty much the Kampala flyover. and you're watching Smart 24 TV. This is Smart Means Business, your daily kickstart. It's a Women's Day edition. One may ask, why are we seeing lots of women still on the road? Well, of course, there are champions of reality, champions of business, and the reality about everything is the fact that every little day that passes by, you have to hustle to at least put something on the table. So sometimes the public holiday doesn't entirely mean you're home resting. You can easily be getting back to your business and trying to evaluate one thing or the other. And of course, for the business community out there, for as much as you can. I am Joro Paul Sonko in here for Smart Means Business, and as I'm taking you back to studio with Rona Nahabwe this morning, just to remind you swiftly to utilize rising, especially the women in business. Let's continue to have this as an argument that we can empower the rest of the people to pick up where they
Thank you so much, Jerome Paul Sonko, for that update or traffic updates. And I'm very excited to know that the business community, with women inclusive, especially on a day like this that we are meant to celebrate them, are out already as early as this to look for bread. We hope that today is a celebration to them, and we hope they know that they are a very important part of this economy. Let's have a break from this and we will return with more about Women's Day and Smart Means Business.